Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something pretty gripping that blew up on social media recently. Donald Trump basically threatening Elon Musk's whole business empire. And look, this isn't just, gossip about powerful people. It's actually a window into some really complex stuff. We're talking modern American political economy, corporate subsidies, power dynamics. It's all in there. So our mission today is to unpack the sources you sent over, get past the headlines, and find the deeper insights.
That's right. And what's really interesting is how this whole feud reveals, well, let's call them three key paradoxes. Understanding these really helps make sense of the forces at play here, beyond just a spat between billionaires.
Okay, great. So let's jump in. Paradox number one. This breakdown of what seemed like a pretty solid political alliance. Trump said Musk knew he was strongly against the EV mandate. So
Yeah.
why the public fallout now if they were supposedly aligned?
Well, what's fascinating, right, is Trump's stance was public. No secrets there. He consistently went after federal tax incentives, and he targeted California's ZEV credit market, that zero-emission vehicle credit system. That's big money for Tesla.
Explain the ZEV credits just quickly. How do they work?
Sure. Basically, car makers making more zero-emission cars than required get these credits. They can then sell them to companies that aren't meeting the targets. Tesla obviously makes only EVs, so they rack up these credits.
Okay, so they sell them for revenue. Got it.
Exactly. Significant revenue. So even though Trump was against policies benefiting Tesla, Musk's past support for Trump seems, well, strategic. It looks like a calculation for maybe other benefits, things like SpaceX contracts, maybe that advisory role he had. It suggests the alliance was more transactional, based on corporate needs rather than, say, shared ideology. That's the first insight, really.
Okay, transactional alliances. Then things shift to money, like cold, hard cash. Trump drops this huge line. Musk may get more subsidy than any human being in history, by far.
Huh.
That sounds massive. How does that claim stack up based on the source material? And what even counts as a subsidy here?
Yeah, that's a big statement. Looking at the bigger picture, Musk's companies have received a lot of government support, no question. We're talking at least $38 billion, maybe more depending on how you count. And it was definitely critical for Tesla early on. Remember that $130 million from ZEV credit?
Right, you mentioned that. That got them their first profit.
That's the story, yeah. Secured their first profitable quarter. And for SpaceX, well, government contracts are foundational, over $20 billion worth, but most in history.
Yeah.
That part is probably hyperbole.
Hyperbole, okay.
Yeah. Other companies, think Boeing maybe, have received more in certain specific subsidy categories. It really just highlights how blurry the lines get. What's a direct contract for a service the government needs versus a subsidy, like a handout?
Right, when the government is also a massive customer, especially for someone like SpaceX.
Exactly. It makes you question the definition. That's sort of the second paradox, is ambiguity around subsidy.
And then the final twist, which is almost, well, unbelievable irony. Trump suggests the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, should investigate Musk's funding. DOGE, the department Musk himself co-led. That's quite something.
It really is. And it raises this profound question about power. DOGE started with this idea of cutting government waste. It was even named after that Doge meme Musk liked, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
But pretty quickly, its actions turned it into, well, a political tool. It started dismantling agencies, cutting programs that were seen as ideologically, let's say, unfavorable. Think about the big cuts at places like USA or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Okay, so it became politicized.
Highly. So the threat to now turn DOGE onto Musk himself, it completely transforms it. It becomes this vehicle for political payback, almost like a shadow state mechanism.
A shadow state.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a power structure working outside the usual checks and balances. So the third paradox is how this tool for efficiency gets flipped into an instrument of political control.
So let's bring it back. What does this all mean for you listening? This whole Trump-Musk thing, this deep dive, shows it's not just about them. It's like a small example of bigger fights happening across the American political scene, often behind the scenes.
Absolutely. For anyone involved in policy or investing or frankly just trying to understand the world, it's a stark reminder. We're in an era of, you could say, intense political risk, where the future of whole industries, important strategic ones, can get tangled up in these really volatile personal relationships between powerful figures.
Makes you think, doesn't it? As you watch these things play out, maybe consider just how much this transactional dealing influences actual policy, and what are the hidden costs, when economic strategy gets caught in the crossfire of personal feuds. something to keep an eye on.